It was a hot and cold day at practice for Drake Maye. The details and why you should not be overly worried is where we start on this episode of Locked On Patriots.
You are Locked On Patriots, your daily New England Patriots podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Patriots fans? I am your host, Nick Cattles, born and raised in New England, also host of the Everything Pats podcast, co-host of the Greg Bedard Patriots podcast with Nick Cattles, and a sports talk show host veteran. On today's episode, the latest on Christian Gonzalez and what it means for this football team moving forward. Also, two rookies could already be on their way towards helping erase years of bad memories. But first, the best and worst of Drake Maye, all in a single day. We appreciate you joining the show, making us your first listen, and for being an everydayer. The Locked On Patriots podcast is a proud partner of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This team is going nowhere if Drake Maye consistently shoots himself in the foot. We can talk about defensive line, offensive line. We could talk about receivers, special teams, coaching staff. But if Maye consistently shoots himself in the foot during the 25 season, this season is not going to be a very good one. This season might not be a good one, period. End of sentence. Drake Maye cannot consistently shoot himself in the foot. And during the second day of padded practices, Maye ran hot and cold. Evan Lazar writes the following: after a rocky start to team periods, Maye drops a high red zone fade in the bucket to Kyle Williams for 6. Maye followed up the touchdown to Williams with a teardrop throw to Stephon Diggs over the trail defender on a crosser for 6. And then you had Taylor Kyles. He posts, Maye's had a few wild throws today, even without pressure, just sailed one outside to Hunter Henry. Mike Giardi posts, Maye on the offense struggled in the red area, 7-on-7, indecisive, inaccurate, rebounded in team. Laser strike to Pop Douglas in the right flat, and deft touch to Kayshon Boutte in the corner. Hot and cold, hot and cold, hot and cold. That is how Drake Maye ran during the second day of padded practices. Now, let's get one thing straight. Details matter. Context matters. I hope that's why, at least part of the reason why, you watch and or listen to this podcast every single weekday. We try to give you the context. We try to give you the details behind somebody failing or somebody succeeding. And so we should absolutely talk about the structure of this practice and why you shouldn't be overly worried even when Maye was running cold during said practice. This practice had a lot of red zone work again. And when you're working in the red zone, you're shrinking the field. You are shrinking the opportunities for the offense. It's kind of just a simple idea. You have less field to work with, which means you can do less offensively. So I don't anticipate this offense, which, by the way, was like 30th or so last year in red zone offense. I don't anticipate this offense all of a sudden, especially against this defense, I don't expect this offense to look great in the red zone, at least not yet. It's early. Running a new system, new offensive coordinator, it's going to take a little bit of time. Shrunk field you're dealing with, it's tougher. Not only that, the Patriots were working a lot in the low red zone. The low red zone, if you're wondering, is the 10-yard line and in. So when you talk about high red zone area, 10 to the 20. Low red zone, 10 to pay dirt. And a lot of this practice was in the low red zone area from the 10-yard line and in. And Warren Sharp, great football analytics mind, he posted 75%. I want you to absorb this. 75% of all rushing touchdowns came from inside the 10-yard line last year. 75% of all rushing touchdowns come from inside the 10-yard line. Teams run a lot inside the 10. You want to know why? Because it's easier to run from inside the 10 than to throw the football from inside the 10. So, yeah, Maye wasn't great in the low red zone area for portions of this practice, but that should not be a surprise. It should not be a surprise whatsoever. Also important when we have this conversation about Maye running hot and cold. he ended strong. He ended the practice strongly after facing the early adversity. Greg Bedard wrote, after a rough start, offense closes strong in the low red. So earlier in the low red zone area, a little bit of an issue. But as the practice went on, Maye straightened himself out. The offense straightened itself out, and it got better throughout the day. Maye threw not one, not two, not three, but 4 touchdowns. One, Bedard had as a sack for Kayvon Chason. There's that name again, against Will Campbell. Campbell thought Chason jumped early. So details matter. 7-on-7, you could fight back and say Maye should be great with 7-on-7 because you're not dealing with any kind of pressure. But the low red zone, being a little inconsistent there, isn't a shocker. Some of the accuracy issues I'm not going to make a big deal of because we haven't seen that earlier in camp with Maye. If it continues to be some kind of a trend, then we'll have a deeper conversation about it. But he missed a few throws. But let's talk about the ups because those were the downs. Let's talk about the ups because the ups, when Maye is running hot, what he is showing is top-tier quarterback ability. Phil Perry wrote about Drake Maye's best passes of the second padded practice. Some really accurate throws from Maye. He threw a back shoulder to Kyle Williams, who dropped it, unfortunately. He threw a fade to Williams, dropped it in the bucket for a touchdown. He threw a well-placed to tightly covered Pop Douglas in front corner of the end zone. And he threw a fastball to Kayshon Boutte for a back end line touchdown. Some of the throws that Maye made during the second padded practice were excellent throws. They were elite throws. So, yeah, he had some misses, but when he was hot, he was looking fantastic. He was making a number of throws that not every quarterback can make. And some of these throws, when Maye gets hot, he is simply indefensible. And that's why you draft him third. He's simply indefensible. He's not a game manager. He could run hot and cold. He could spray a couple of throws every once in a while. He's not dink and dunk. He's not playing it safe. So you're going to have some of that. You're going to have some of the ups and downs. You obviously want more ups than downs, but I'm not surprised, especially this early in camp, given the structure, what they were trying to do, not surprised that there was some not so great, but there was also a lot of really good. And frankly, I will live with the occasional spray from Maye. I will live with that if you get the highest of the highs. If you also get the highest of the highs, you're going to live with the downs. If you get some inaccuracy every once in a while, you're going to take that if you get your quarterback threading the needle for a touchdown 2 throws later. So there's a part of Maye as you watch him, and this might never change. It might get better, but there is a part of Drake Maye that you almost have to embrace every once in a while. He's just not going to be sharp on a throw. He might have a series where he's not ultra sharp. But if you understand that, you will live through that, and you will get to the very high of the high. And you will see those passes, those bucket throws downfield, threading the needle, in between traffic, zipping it to somebody who is smothered, but zipping it to the back shoulder. You got to take some of the lows to get those highs. Maye's not perfect. Who is? But the ceiling, we talk about the ceiling. And that's why many of us feel, including myself, that Maye has the potential to be one of the top quarterbacks in the league, whether that's 5, 6, 7, 8. He has that kind of ceiling. The most important thing, though, don't get it twisted. We could talk about some of the inaccuracies. We could talk about some of the great throws. But the most important part, and I don't want to jinx him. But I want to share it with you. Through what? 6 practices, I think. 6 practices in training camp. Through those 6 practices, given one was a walkthrough, nothing happening there. Maye has 0 interceptions. 0.0 picks. Now, they've had some issues with the snapping of the football. Could be on Maye, could be on the centers, could be on both. But Drake Maye, to this point, and now he'll probably throw 3 or 4, he has not thrown a single interception through the first 6 practices. If you want to take that walkthrough out, he has not thrown a single pick in the first 5 practices. That's the most important thing. You can live with some of the inaccuracy, especially if he's not turning the football over. The Pats reportedly escape season-shifting bad news. That's next as we continue with today's episode of Locked On Patriots, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is presented by Yahoo Fantasy. Fantasy football is back. Fire up the group chat, get your draft board ready, and buckle up for a season filled with breakouts, busts, and those overreactions that all of us love. It's all going down on Yahoo Fantasy. Got friends, people I know playing on Yahoo Fantasy, and you should too, whether you're a first-timer or a veteran making your millionth league. Talking about a veteran, I played fantasy football for a long time. I don't even want to date it, but it's been a long, long time. Trust me when I tell you. And you know who's also been at fantasy for a long time? Yahoo Fantasy. To celebrate 28 years of fantasy greatness, Yahoo Fantasy is dropping 28 big new features over 28 days, giving you more ways to play, more ways to draft, and more ways to win. It all begins August 4th. Stay tuned to get started by creating or joining a Yahoo Fantasy Football League at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. That's yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. And let's make this fantasy season the best one yet. All right, do this with me. Do this with me. Take a big, big breath. Sigh of relief. Pats fans, you can breathe a little bit easier for now. Jordan Schultz of Fox, or formerly of Fox, or about to be formerly of Fox, he reported earlier that Christian Gonzalez, his week 1 of the 2025 season, is not going to be in jeopardy. He should be available for week 1. Karen Garigian of Mass Live, the OG, she followed up, posting, I'm told the Patriots aren't sure how long Gonzalez will be out with a hamstring injury. They're just taking it, quote unquote, day by day. Mark Daniels of Mass Live, he actually quote tweeted that from Garigian, and he posted, I'm told the Patriots don't view Gonzalez's hamstring injury as serious. His return is dependent on his recovery, but certainly could have been worse. So this is really exactly what you wanted to hear. Outside of, oh, it was a cramp, which I never really thought it was a cramp. The way he reacted, the way he was walking, the conversation with the trainers, the fact that the trainers did not try to stretch him out before walking to the trainer's room, all of that told us that this was most likely a hamstring injury. But we did not want any kind of tear. You know, we didn't want any kind of serious hamstring injury. Hamstring injuries are tough. But out of the possible news we could have received about Gonzalez, this feels like it's close to the most positive, aside from him being back out there at practice today, running around, going bananas. And because this doesn't seem like it's a serious injury, you don't have to worry, at least for now. These things can change, but you don't have to worry about Gonzalez going on the PUP. I also think this means that the front office coaching staff, they don't have to show as much urgency, especially the front office. We talked about possible options and who the Patriots could target if Gonzalez was going to be out long-term. There are some free agent names that we went over. You can check that out the last episode. But I don't think the front office has to worry about any of that. This is not a serious injury. The team is not alarmed. It sounds like right now they don't believe Gonzalez is going to miss any regular season time. So you don't have to worry about jumping into free agency, bringing somebody from the outside in. You can work with the guys that you have. I would also like to say that because of the position and because of the way Gonzalez plays the position, and what I mean by that is Gonzalez plays a lot of man coverage. He plays a lot of man coverage. So he doesn't have to worry as much about the playbook or what he's supposed to do as other players, because his assignment is his assignment. He's going to line up across from the number one receiver, and he's going to be asked to try to at least limit, if not completely shut down, said receiver. So Gonzalez, he can actually parachute into the season. If he parachutes in to the final week of practice, whatever, if he parachutes in to the first week of the regular season in that practice schedule, he could jump on the field and pretty much do his job because he's still keeping up on the playbook just in case you want to change some of the coverages. But it's mostly communication when you discuss those kinds of things. So Gonzalez, he knows what his job is. That makes it easier for him to miss time, get back, and not miss a beat on the field. Now, I also think the Patriots should still be cautious with Gonzalez. Don't rush him back. We know the fact that I've mentioned this multiple times. Hamstring injuries can linger. They can be issues. So right now, it doesn't look like it's serious. If you rush him back, if he tries to do too much, it could set him back. We don't want any setbacks. So I still think the Pats will be cautious with Gonzalez, and they should be. Another point, Carlton Davis, not at practice again. So he's now just missing practice after practice after practice. From a standpoint of, as we just mentioned, him being ready for the season, I'm not worried about that. He's a veteran. He's another guy that knows his assignment for the most part. I'm not too worried about him being lost. I am concerned about his health, though. And so hopefully we see Carlton Davis come back soon. Good news on the Gonzalez front. Still a mystery with Carlton Davis's situation. Let's jump to some other injury news because Gonzalez wasn't the only injury news that we got. Austin Hooper has returned. Now, some of you might not think that's a big deal. I would disagree. Hooper returning is sneaky big news. Tell you why. Hunter Henry, your number one guy, lack of depth at tight end. And you don't want to go into the regular season with Hunter Henry or bust. And when Noah Fant became available, I expected to hear that the Patriots would at least be somewhat interested in Fant. But the fact that we didn't really have Fant linked to the Patriots should have told us that this Hooper injury wasn't serious. They knew he would be back relatively soon and that they could survive without him. But Hooper's presence is big. During camp, especially early in camp, Josh McDaniels has been running a decent amount of 2 tight ends, of 12 personnel. And it seems like it's going to be, I don't know how big of a part of the offense, but it's absolutely going to be a part. And if you judge McDaniels' history, it's going to be a big part. And we've seen during camp that 12 personnel. I would much rather have Henry and Hooper out there running 12 personnel than Henry and Bell or Henry and Westover or Henry and Scott or Henry and Dupree, who I haven't heard one single word about. So the 12 personnel, the versatility of this offense is helped exponentially when your second tight end is reliable. Also helps that Drake Maye has some chemistry with Hooper. There's familiarity between the two players. Hooper had a pretty good year last season, given the circumstances. So that's really good news. Some other news on the injury front. Garrett Bradbury, who was penciled in, make sure to say penciled in as the starting center before we got to camp. He actually got dinged up. He got dinged up towards the end of the practice. He left the practice early. That caused a shift. So Bradbury was dinged. You had Jared Wilson move from left guard to center when Bradbury got dinged up. But Bradbury wasn't the only one. Morgan Moses also left this practice, and he left earlier than Bradbury. And there's no great offensive line depth in football, but I do get a little bit queasy thinking about the backup offensive line for this team right now. Getting a little queasy. Your backup left tackle is Marcus Bryant, 7th round pick. He's been okay during camp so far, which is good, but he's still an unknown. Your backup left guard until today, when he actually was bumped up to the starting left guard, was Jared Wilson. But of course, Wilson might be needed at center. We'll get to that in a minute. If Wilson is needed at center, that means Caden Wallace is now your backup left guard. And Wallace needs to be consistent, and he needs to do a lot more during this camp to win me over, and I think to win this coaching staff over. Backup center situation, totally dependent on left guard, totally dependent on Bradbury's injury status. If it's Wilson, then Brown's next up. If it's Bradbury, then Wilson would be next up. I could live with that if it's Wilson and Bradbury. Wilson and Brown, you could probably survive. Right guard, too, City So looks like he's got the lead. I'd be okay with that. But then right tackle, that's a whole nother conversation. Demontre Jacobs is eh. And next up, I guess you would say, is Jack Conley from Boston College, the UDFA. So I wouldn't call this offensive line deep. Keep our fingers crossed. Speaking of the offensive line, I don't want to get too crazy yet, but two rookies are starting to make me dream a little dream. That's next as we continue with today's episode of Locked On Patriots, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Time to fuel up and turn it up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. That's right. It brings the bold grape, ginger, and lime flavor of your favorite golf drink, minus the alcohol, into a quick, energizing shot. Whether you're sinking birdies or just making memories with friends, this one's a hole-in-one for your energy game. And I've got a friend who plays golf all the time, lives by 5-Hour Energy, pumped about 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. Golf is all about good times with good people, good flavors, of course. The grape, ginger, lime flavor gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without chasing down the bev cart. If you go to 5hourenergy.com today, that is the number 5hourenergy.com, you can use my promo code LOCKEDONNFL to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Whether you're meeting up with friends or trying to turn 18 holes into 36, get the energizing boost you need to power through. Order transfusion-flavored 5-Hour Energy shots today. Until we get to post-Minnesota joint practice, we should consider everything relatively early in the process. By the time we get to that second joint practice against the Vikings, we will have a firm grasp as to what this football team is and what they want to do and what we believe they can do. Up until then, a lot of stuff is fluid, especially when you talk about young players. But I'm here to tell you, Jared Wilson, Will Campbell, they are looking like draft hits. Here is the latest from the second padded practice for the Patriots. Evan Lazar posts outstanding work from Wilson in one-on-ones, shutting down Milton Williams and Christian Barmore twice to finish 3-0. By the way, again, Wilson rose to the starting left guard spot before Bradbury left the practice, and Wilson had to slide over to center. Lazar also writes, Will Campbell won his reps versus Keon White and Kayvon Chason. Phil Perry, he writes, Wilson just put on a clinic on one-on-ones, stoned Barmore twice and Williams once. Campbell has also had a strong practice. Greg Bedard doesn't throw flowers very often, right? He's not into throwing bouquets at the feet of Patriots players. Bedard posts, Campbell, an impressive 2-0 against White and Chason. Others had 3-0. Bedard notes, strong hands. My strong hand. And I don't want to get too far. I don't want to go too crazy. I gave you the caveat at the beginning of this, but I'm starting to think. I'm starting to entertain, and maybe I'm going to regret this, and I'm going to regret this so much. Hopefully not. But I am starting to entertain this thought. Man, what if Will Campbell is a hit? And of course, we want him to be, and he should be. He was picked 4th overall, but there was the conversation about, hey, maybe eventually he'll have to slide over to guard. I don't know how many of you have been paying attention recently, but there are a lot of left tackles signing big-time contract extensions. The arm length's like 33 inches or less. So we've seen a number of them in the last few days, just to keep track of that. But there was talk about, hey, maybe he has to move to left guard eventually. If Campbell is an absolute unequivocal hit at left tackle, just think about that for a minute. Allow yourself during this summertime to just dream a little dream. And dream of Will Campbell being a bona fide left tackle, locking up that premier position. And think about how much pain we have gone through watching that position over the past few years. Think about it. I don't want to feel that pain anymore. You don't want to feel that pain anymore. Drake Maye doesn't want to feel the literal pain. If Campbell is a hit, Man, oh man. You've got the blind side protected of your franchise quarterback. You've got one of the most pivotal, crucial positions in all of the game locked down. You have a tone setter. Campbell's a tone setter. You talk about guys that have the right attitude and personality and rubs off on other teammates and players. That's Campbell. And if Campbell's that bona fide left tackle, he's not only the most important offensive lineman on your football team. If he can set that example for the other four guys and set that tone, you feel even better about it. He's a leader. He's an anchor. Just dream that for a minute. Close your eyes and dream that for a minute. And then don't be interrupted. Embrace this as you're closing your eyes and thinking about Campbell being a bona fide left tackle, locking that position down. I now want you to think about Jared Wilson. And I want you to think about Jared Wilson being a hit. I don't want to get too far ahead, but I want you to think about Jared Wilson being a hit. Again, Lazar calling Wilson's work outstanding. Phil Perry saying he put on a clinic. If Jared Wilson is a hit, how important is the center-quarterback relationship? How important is the communication between those two guys? How important is the exchange between center and quarterback? Snap of the football. I remember last camp. Man, it was rough to watch when David Andrews wasn't out there. Dudes were airmailing Drake Maye in the shotgun, throwing it at his feet. Now, the exchanges haven't been perfect, especially for Bradbury and Maye recently. Wilson was clean at the second padded practice today. But, I mean, my goodness, when you look at the importance of the center position, especially for a young quarterback, and then we look at Wilson's athleticism and what he could possibly do in the run game, and you just kind of picture Campbell and Wilson mauling people in the run game and being able to pass protect. I mean, am I having some kind of like fever dream here? Am I losing my mind? I don't want to lose my mind, but to think that you have a left tackle and a center, if both of these guys hit and you've got those two positions filled with legitimate NFL offensive linemen who are both athletic freaks and can block in the pass game and run game, we're cooking. I don't know if we're cooking with gas yet, but it feels like we're cooking. Certainly feels like if these two guys are hits, Elliott Wolf, Mike Vrabel, everybody else in that front office and scouting department feels like they cooked. And just the pass protection being an upgrade at those two spots. You don't have to worry about the pressure straight up the middle in Maye's face, flushing him out of the pocket, creating opportunities for the defense to take advantage and create some kind of mistake from Maye. You don't have to worry about him getting mollywopped from the blind side. Man, oh man, I don't want to dream too much. But these reports from camp early on, both guys, Wilson and Campbell, they have looked legitimate. They have given some hope. Wilson's 22. Campbell's 21. Let's throw Mike Onwenu into the bunch. Onwenu is 27 years old. That right there is 3/5 of your offensive line nailed down. And it also underlines the importance of the draft and how you build your football team the right way. Because all three of those guys drafted. Onwenu drafted, developed. Wilson, Campbell drafted in April. The importance of the draft and getting it right. And even if you got to figure out some other things, I mean, if you're going in the next offseason trying to figure out right tackle and left guard, if that's the mission, to me, it's an easier mission than trying to find that left tackle and center. That wraps up this edition of Locked On Patriots. Reach out to me on Twitter at Nick C Radio. Don't forget to throw a comment in on the YouTube channel. Don't forget to hit that like. Give me the thumbs up. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. We're picking up subscribers every day. Appreciate all of you. Thanks for being an everydayer, making Locked On Patriots your first listen. For your second listen, check out Locked On Bets. Betting experts Lee Sterling and Kevin Rogers have daily MLB locks, can't miss football futures. You can find Locked On Bets, by the way, on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Have a great great day. We'll see you tomorrow.